Good afternoon, everybody. Big Mike back here with you once again. Welcome back to Big Mike Talks, where I'm going to be talking to you about the very interesting week that was in pro wrestling as I cover AEW Dynamite and TNA Impact Wrestling. Both go-home shows to some pretty interesting pay-per-views, both on Sunday, which, get in for that. So AEW has Forbidden Door along with New Japan, Stardom, CMLL, and then TNA has their Slammiversary, which I love that name, by the way. I am going to try to go as quickly as I can so this doesn't take all day, but I'll at least do finishes, maybe some interesting moments. Speaking of interesting moments, we're going to start off with Dynamite. We got Moxley giving the Death Riders a rah-rah speech before their match. And interesting, Will Ospreay is in the back there. And they start doing the huddle together, dance around thing that everyone but Mox does. Then as they let go, Will backs up into like a little tub or whatever it was. And he falls down. Now, everyone else is kind of trying to stay in the character. You see Daniel Garcia with the biggest grin on his face. And then you see Will Ospreay look back at him and think, bruh, and start laughing himself. It's moments that I like that I love. Some human moments of mistakes. No one got hurt. And it was just a funny thing that happened on accident. I'd like to see more moments like these. So this leads to our opening contest. We got the Death Riders, so it's Moxley, Wheeler Yuta, and Claudio Castagnoli taking on Brodito, that's Brody King and Mystico, and Bandito, along with Mystico, who got a really good reaction. This match was a ton of fun, but one really big surprise is Brody King, the big man, doing a springboard double arm drag on the Death Riders. That was absolutely wild to see. And honestly, this was such a fun match. Although the finish left a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth. You got Shafir distracting the referee. Then someone, I'm going to assume it was either Garcia or Pac, slid Moxley. No, not even Moxley. I think it was Yuta. The Continental title. I'm sorry, AEW has 45,000 belts. Yuta hits, I think it was Bandito, with the Continental title, goes for the pin, and picks up the win. So, that's definitely going to be an interesting thing. Moxley does have some momentum for Forbidden Door against Bandito, but I think we're going to maybe see a title change, which I am definitely all for. So next up, we go backstage for an interview with Team Briscoe for the Steel Cage match at Forbidden Door. So that's Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong, Orange Cassidy, Takeshita, and Darby Allin. So interview starts with Darby who's saying he doesn't feel ready, but I don't have to be. I told Mark Briscoe I'd do everything in my power to help him win. Then Roddy interrupts saying, MJF and Callis family, I don't hate you guys as much as I do Max, but I'm going to make sure we all have our backpacks to hold whatever it is we need for the match. Then we hear Kyle O'Reilly, wait, where the heck is Mark? We hear from Takeshita, I think it was, he says, don't worry, he'll be here later on to make sure to give the world a piece of his mind. So, definitely an interesting little interview. Short, sweet, to the point. We then go to our next matchup, and it's the Survival of the Fittest qualifier for the TBS title. We got Marina Shafir taking on Harley Cameron. Shafir attacks Cameron before the bell, and Cameron dominates for a while. And I'm talking folding Harley up into a pretzel and just beating the heck out of her. Marina attempts to lock Harley in the mother's milk. Harley falls down, gets in a couple of kicks. Marina Shafir with some knees in the corner, but Harley hangs on to her, rolls through with a Boston Crab. Shafir gets out of that, locks in the rear naked choke. Harley slips out of it into a bridging pin to pick up the win. And I know a couple of people are disappointed in that finish, but I'm sure we'll get something for Marina Shafir to do down the line. I think Harley is a good representation, considering she was tag partners with previous champion Willow Nightingale. And, I got nothing to complain about. Would I have liked to have seen Shafir win? Absolutely. But I'm not overall mad about it. Next, we get highlights from Athena versus Maya World from Collision, which, if you haven't seen that one, go give it a watch. That was a great matchup. We then go for a little preview for Forbidden Door, as we got Will Ospreay kind of making fun of himself after that fall backstage, taking on New Japan roster member, former member of the Bullet Club, ELP. And yeah, this match was wild. These two guys know each other very, very well. But after a styles clash, a hidden blade, your winner, obviously, Mr. Will Ospreay. And as he's slapping hands with the crowd, he's about to go up the ramp. Out comes Swerve Strickland. They meet their gaze kind of right before the ring. So Ospreay jumps over the barricade and leaves through the crowd. Which, we'll see what happens with that a little later. Because right now, we got Swerve Strickland taking on Daniel Garcia. And yeah, this match was really underrated. Garcia has improved so much since he started with the Death Riders. He feels, I don't want to say big time, but he feels levels above where he was. But eventually, it all catches up to him. Swerve with a flatliner, a house call for a 2. He initially goes up for the Swerve Stomp, but he stops, gets down in the corner, hits a hidden blade on Daniel Garcia to pick up the win. I am all for rivals using their rivals' moves on other people. It's just the most exquisite disrespect as a wrestler. Like that's awesome. So post-match, Swerve attacks Garcia. Will Ospreay comes out to make the save. He and Swerve brawl. And as Swerve is getting ready for the hidden blade, Prince Nana, Swerve's manager, grabs him by the leg, distracts him enough for Swerve to hit a house call. He attempts the Vertebreaker, but Daniel Garcia stops him, pushes Ospreay out of the ring. Swerve then hits a Vertebreaker on Daniel Garcia as Ospreay bails. Then a little after that, the docs check on Daniel Garcia. So, yeah, definitely an interesting message sent to the potential future champion. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. But I am loving this rivalry. This is so good. Then we get a Team Briscoe versus Team MJF hype video. And then we get the cringiest part of the night. Oh boy, this was awkward. So we get a promo from MJF and the Callis family. They're standing on like the same stairs they were last week, with each member taking a turn saying a little line. With MJF telling Mark Briscoe, the talent gap between us is as wide as your teeth. Jeez, that's a line. And then Callis pretty much says, look, we're all not on the same page as last week. Andrade. Andrade then perks up, starts to go after MJF, but Don Callis holds them back. So Callis then gets a box from Rocky Romero, who then just kind of sulks off screen. Callis then reveals team t-shirts in which it's Don Callis and MJF, but they're superimposed like bodybuilders. They look like Lex Luger and Ultimate Warrior back in the day. They're shirtless, they're pantsless, all they got on is Speedos. It is the weirdest thing I have ever seen. And look, Callis usually does this in paintings and stuff, and it's still very weird. And apparently these shirts are on sale right now at shopaew.com. I cannot tell you how much this made me want to throw up in my mouth. That was, oh god, that was way too much, man. So, to get that nasty taste out of our mouths, we go to our next matchup. We got Jungle Jack Perry taking on New Japan Pro Wrestling star Zack Sabre Jr. And I'm going to say this, Jack Perry kept up. Like, is Jack the most technical wrestler on the planet? No, but he looked like $1,000,000 against Zack Sabre Jr., who definitely is one of the best technical wrestlers going today. But the win comes with Zack Sabre Jr. locking Jungle Jack Perry in a Boston Crab. Then he does the finger manipulation, which gets me every time. And that makes Jack Perry tap out for the victory for Zack Sabre Jr. This brings in Bad Dude Tito and Mikey Nicholls in the ring. They're surrounding Jack Perry. Out come the Young Bucks. And then we go right into our next matchup as Matt and Nick Jackson take on Bad Dude Tito and Mikey Nicholls. And I'm going to say this. Mikey Nicholls has done some really good things in the ring. I remember him with Shane Haste, whatever his name is, in TM61, who were like one of my favorite tag teams in NXT. And Bad Dude Tito, I'll say this, I like his brawling style. Is he a perfect wrestler? No. But he looked really good against the Young Bucks, who win after a Meltzer driver. Post-match, Tito, Nicholls, and Zack Sabre Jr. all attack the Young Bucks. This brings out Kenny Omega and Jack Perry to make the save. There's a big old brawl around the ring. Kenny Omega goes for the V-trigger on Zack Sabre Jr. Tito pulls Zack Sabre Jr. out of the ring. Then Kenny Omega gets a microphone, and he says to Zack Sabre Jr., saying, nothing personal, just takes me time to warm up. At Forbidden Door, it's just going to be the two of us, one-on-one. And once I win, I'm off to Redemption. So after Sunday, they'll just forget about you like they did last year. Omega drops the mic, his music starts playing, then Zack Sabre Jr. picks it up and says, "Try to stay out of the hospital, mate." I feel like that was a little bit more real than AEW wanted it, but I think that was the perfect rebuttal from Zack Sabre Jr. I cannot wait for that match. It's going to be great. Then we see highlights of Thekla invading a recent Stardom pay-per-view, which, yeah, I'm all for that. Including attacking their president, which, that's going to be interesting. But next matchup, we got the second to last qualifying match for Survival of the Fittest. We got Red Velvet, who, glad to see her back on my TV. She's fantastic. Taking on Queen Aminata. I feel like this was a very early match for Dynamite in years past. So it's good to see them back again, and they've definitely evolved to their styles. Red Velvet is definitely more energetic, while Queen Aminata is clearly the powerhouse. And this was a great back and forth match. And hey, first time in a long time we've had 2 women's matches on Dynamite at one time. So, bravo, Mr. Tony Khan. But the win comes after Queen Aminata hits an off-with-her-head knee strike, which, I'm going to say this, go watch that finisher. It's brutal, for the win for Queen Aminata. So then we go backstage for a Young Bucks interview. They're kind of talking about their match for Forbidden Door when we hear a kerfuffle. Let's call it what it is. I know, I'm old school. Sue me. As we see Christian Cage, Adam Copeland, and the Dogs brawling through the set back into like wardrobe, I guess, because we see a makeup woman, and they're just fighting each other. They're taking each other out. It finishes with the Dogs choking Cage and Copeland with like a TV wire or whatever it was. Then I see David Finlay grab something. He and Clark Connors do a 5-second pose, and we see it's like, how do I say this? It's like sunglasses, but it has an extra piece over the top. It's something Edge and Christian wore for an entrance back in the day, post the Brood. I wish I had some pictures I can show, but I may get copyright for that. So, nice little moment with them. Then we get our main event match. There is a little bit more afterwards. We'll get there. We got the international title on the line as Konosuke Takeshita takes on Ricochet. And I'm going to say this. I think this is an really early contender for match of the year. And this is saying something. I love, we got Takeshita's power versus Ricochet's speed. Although Takeshita could really keep up with Ricochet. But eventually, after a power drive knee and a raging fire, your winner and still international champion, Konosuke Takeshita. So as he's going up the ramp, Mark Briscoe comes out. They have a little high five moment. Briscoe gets to the ring, grabs a microphone, and says, "Max, Sunday at Forbidden Door inside Steel Cage Warfare. My buddies are ready for a fight. I gotta remind you, my crew has a reputation in matches like these. Go watch the last Blood and Guts match," which, very good point. "At Forbidden Door, there will be more consequences for you, as I get the shot at the AEW World title held by MJF. But Max, I agree with you on one thing. We are not alike. You're a privileged baby boy, and I'm a grown-ass man. I earn what I want, and the last time we faced off, I beat you, and I can do it again. Sunday, we walk into battle. You got the Callis family, very talented people, but they don't really care about you. If you suddenly caught fire, the Callis family wouldn't piss on you to put you out. At that point, Don Callis comes out, but he doesn't have a microphone. But apparently it's enough of a distraction for Mark Briscoe for MJF to come from behind him, chop block him, and just beat the heck out of him. At that point, members from each team come out, hit at least a couple moves, including a high-low from Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong on Jake Doyle, which, that was pretty cool. Then we have Mark Briscoe, Andrade, and MJF in the ring at one time. And Andrade and MJF are face-to-face. Don Callis gets up on the apron, directing traffic. Andrade holds Mark Briscoe open for an attack. MJF puts on his Dynamite Diamond ring, goes for the KO punch. Mark Briscoe slips out of Andrade's grasp, and MJF hits Andrade. And then we finish up with MJF eating a Jay Drilla. So, very exciting finish to Dynamite. Dynamite was really, really good this week. My only issue, I don't know if it was enough for me to really be more excited for the pay-per-view, if you know what I mean. Like, I was already pretty excited with the card, but this doesn't build on it like go-home shows should. You know what I mean? Either way, I was pretty entertained, and I am very much looking forward to Forbidden Door. So that leaves us with that. We now move on to TNA Impact, and oh boy, this is gonna be interesting. So first, we got a little recap from last week, which I'm kind of glad TNA does. Like, it's a little couple-minute blurb just to recap, just in case. Which, I'm gonna say this. This might be a little controversial. I kind of think AEW should be doing more stuff like this. Not everything, just maybe a little recap to open the show. Anyway, so first, we get a promo from Brother Nero and Broken Matt Hardy. It's the Broken Hardys. So Matt starts off saying, our vessels have been reborn after the Wicked Garden. Our bodies are broken even further and poisoned. We needed the righteous to change us and force us to ascend. Righteous forced us to fade away and consider ourselves obsolete. And no, I am not singing that. I do not have a great singing voice. So they continue. At Slammiversary, we are not the same team. We have been reborn by fate. We're going to win back our tag team titles. At that point, the Righteous come out, with Vincent taking the lead, saying, the two of you are unbelievable. Before you start cheapening out about transformation, the Righteous walked you through the garden. You should be eternally grateful you're telling the truth. But standing here, you're enlightened by us. So Matt retorts, saying, you don't know what you have awoken. But before he can get another word out, Brian Myers and Bear Bronson come out of the system, with Myers taking the lead, saying, isn't this adorable? Look, Bear, it's Table 9 having a powwow, speaking nothing but mumbo-jumbo. Well, none of that is going to matter. The only thing that does is the tag team titles. Bear Bronson then takes the microphone and says, I don't care about anyone here in this ring. All I care about are two guys blinded by ego, trying to take the systems. Blinded by ego. Try what you will, and the system will eat you alive. Which, great line, but I did mess it up. I do apologize. Bear continues, what you see is us winning. No, this is Jeff now, actually. And he says, what you see is us winning back the tag team titles. And what are you going to... Bear Bronson then repeats, what are you going to do about that? Matt then starts a delete chant. After that, they all get in a big old brawl. Then for whatever reason, Jeff gets like one of the tallest ladders I've ever seen. He goes up it. Everyone else sees it, and the system and the righteous bail, while the Hardys pose with the ladder. I'll admit, I'll give credit where credit is due. That was an interesting little build-up for the tag title match for Slammiversary. I do wish there was a bit more physicality, though. Then we get a card rundown for the evening. Then we see Daria Ray in the back. She's on the phone with, authority figure number 3. Then, Ali and Order 4 walk in with Daria looking at the Great Hand saying, look, I know you guys want your match at Slammiversary, but I want to really reward you for good behavior, so I'm adding the Great Hand to the tag team title match at Slammiversary. Also with Ali wondering who his opponent's going to be for Slammiversary now that it's an open challenge, which I'm not super big of a fan of stuff like this, but maybe TNA has an interesting idea on who the challenger could be. Next up, oh boy, this was a mess. So the match was supposed to be Ash by Elegance and Mara Sade. Ash comes out first. She's getting yelled out by the crowd. Then Ash grabs a microphone and says, no, I'm not a mark. There's only one mark, and it's all of you. Then she says, I took some time away from my mental health. Well, I need another break right now. She then drops to the ring and starts squirming around like a toddler. Like she's throwing a hissy fit or something. So at that point, M by Elegance gets in the ring, helps Ash leave. As Ash is going out, Elena Black is out on the ramp. They pass by. So the match is now M by Elegance and Mara Sade, in which it never really gets going because, well, Elena knocks Sade off the top rope, so the match gets thrown out. Everyone ringside starts brawling. And then Rosemary and Allie come out and just save the day, facing off with their opponents for Slammiversary. Yeah, that was lame. Like, I understand you want to protect everybody and make everyone look good. This just made everyone look stupid. Like, let's get some decent storylines for these ladies, and let's have them have some legitimate matches. Hell, let's have a tournament where the overall winner becomes number one contender. Anyway, let's get away from that. We go to a pre-recorded Eric Young promo where he says, I targeted Sosa because I was trying to show him that viral videos means nothing. While he has potential, there is a price to pay to hold a spot in wrestling. And now he's disrespecting the hierarchy. He's taking his spot for granted. And there's a lesson to be learned here. What I'm doing is a test. It comes from me. I don't have anything personal against Ricky. But come Slammiversary, this comes to an end. Yeah, those are some fighting words. I'm going to say this. I still love Eric Young. He's one of my favorite characters in wrestling right now. But I think it's time to pull the trigger on this cleanse that Eric Young is talking about. I'm not saying world title. Let's make a crew out of this. Let's make a group. I don't know. I think that would be fun. So next up, we got the most one-sided match I think I've ever seen. We have AJ Francis, taking on Manny Lemons. So Manny Lemons did spend some time in TNA, although when it was Impact, he was a younger superstar making his way, but he didn't get very far, sadly. But yeah, like I said, Manny Lemons tried to get some offense in, but this was the AJ Francis show, as he wins with some Tennessee whiskey, a BFL, and a down payment to pick up the win. At that point, when AJ Francis is celebrating, Elijah gets on the Tron, and he says, "The crap coming out of your mouth is worse than the stuff I put in. You want to take everything from me? No amount of talent makes me think you're anything more than a fraud. I've talked to some advisors, and I'm going to take this paper at Slammiversary. I'm going to take everything you took from me back." At that point, he brings up the cease and desist AJ Francis gave to him a few weeks ago, lights it on fire, and drops it. That's a message and a half. I gotta tell you, I wasn't super impressed with Elijah upon him coming into the company. I think I'm falling back in love with him. Like, he's a great character. Average wrestler, he's not bad, but he's not great. But I want to see him beat AJ Francis's butt. So next up, we got Xia Brookside taking on Harley Hudson. And Xia attacks Hudson before the bell rings. And they have a decent little back and forth. But eventually, after a whiffed leg drop by Harley, big kick, and then a dark side DDT with your winner, Xia Brookside. Then Xia attacks Harley post-match. Then champion Li Lee comes out, makes the save. Xia Brookside bails. Then Lee checks on Harley. So, I think the two attacks to start the match and end this match were a little bit much. The match itself was actually really, really entertaining. I don't know if these two have had matches before, but this was a fun one. Then we get a little TNA injury report segment. Then we get the Slammiversary World Title Summit segment. So it's Nick Nemeth, Mike Santana, Gia Miller, I think her name is, the ring announcer, and of course Carlos Silva's got to be in there. Because we don't have enough authority figures in TNA. So, anyway, we get a little spiel from Carlos Silva. Then we start with Nick Nemeth saying, "Mike, you've done it all. You had a killer year as champion. I've had 23 consecutive years. You've had one good run. And it's all about to end." Nice, short, sweet, to the point. Then Mike Santana sits up, says, "You think I just had one good year, huh? All you see is one good year. You weren't here when my mom was abused, when I told my daughter I'm fighting addiction, This is my life. I've been fighting my entire life for this. You're right. You've done it all everywhere you've been. I'll give you respect for that. Difference between us, when TNA needed someone, I was there. When TNA needed someone to put it on its back, I was here to drag it through the dark times. Where were you? You were doing dates in Australia. And your first day with the TNA shirt on, no one thought you'd be that guy. But I've been that guy this entire time. And I'm going to continue it post Slammiversary. And the reason I'm here tonight, and you've been gone other times, I found out you were being on other shows. This is Nemeth now saying, your daughter doesn't have to show the tears of what I've been through. At least your father isn't here to watch you fail one last time. Mike Santana then says, I know what you're doing. Now's your shot. And they just start brawling. And it's a really good brawl. Then at one point, Ryan Nemeth comes in, gets a one tap on Mike Santana. Santana then backs him into a wall, in which Nick attacks Mike Santana from behind, takes his head, slams it into the setup table, and then slams Mike Santana's head into the TNA World title. So, yeah, and then for the rest of the night, we were hearing about an announcement for Mike Santana's status for Slammiversary, which I'll admit that it's a good angle, but a little obvious. Go back to the ring, not for a match, but from a promo from Moose and JDC, in which apparently Moose's match with Eddie Edwards at Slammiversary is now a, what do they call it? No surrender match. So it's not pinfall, it's not submission. The win comes after the corner person throws in the towel for their respective competitor. So Eddie has Alicia, and now Moose has JDC, which, that's interesting. So Moose starts off saying, Eddie Edwards at Slammiversary, our match ends when our corner man throws in the towel. Just explain that, so don't worry about that. He continues, Eddie, you broke up a family and stabbed me in the back. And like your wife, payback's gonna be a bitch. At that point, Eddie and Alicia come out, with Eddie saying, Moose, Moose, Moose. I didn't destroy anything. See, Moose, after all this time together, it finally hit me and I realized what was wrong. You two were like a cancer, holding back the system from reaching its full potential. Then we went and rebuilt, and now at Slammiversary, I will end this once and for all. JDC then takes the microphone and says, if you don't know who JDC is, that's Fandango, who was a temporary member of the system until his retirement. So, I don't know where he came from for this. Maybe I missed something. So, JDC says, I've known you longer than anyone, Eddie, which, that surprised the heck out of me. He continues, I don't take what you did personally. TNA, it's making you sick. Your passion is making you sick in the head. And if you continue down this path, you'll lose everything. Your friends, your family, your wife, your child. At that point, Alicia rips the microphone from JDC, and she pretty much yells, that's enough. You want to know something? The system is better without you both. And deep down, Moose, I know you want revenge on me. I played you like a fool. I'll give you one chance. Do it! At that point, Moose is getting ready to, looks like, run through Alicia Edwards. Not that way, with a spear. JDC is holding him back. Eddie is holding Alicia back. Moose and JDC initially leave the ring. Alicia and says, I knew you'd do that because you're nothing but a coward. Moose then turns around, sprints right back down to the ring. He's set up for a spear, but JDC stops him, holds him back, and they leave again. And Eddie has one final line saying, at Slamniversary, this ends. And then Alicia says, I'd rather die than throw in the towel. Then Moose grabs a separate microphone, says, at Slamniversary, there's going to be a funeral. Which, oh jeez. Yeah, this is a heated rivalry, which that finale is going to be great. Then we get a little Ricky Sosa highlight reel / responding to Eric Young. They got a match for Slamniversary. Then we get a Slamniversary card rundown in which, I'm going to say this, that looks underrated. Like, I feel like post Forbidden Door, I may go check out Slamniversary. Oh, we got some thunder coming. And then we get our main event match. We'll get to that a little bit later. And it's 6 of these 7 competitors for Ultimate X. The 7th, which was announced on social media, is former X Division champion, The Amazing Red, which I haven't seen this guy yet wrestle in years. I'm excited for that. But now we're going to have a little 6-man tag. We got Frankie Kazarian, Cedric Alexander, and Mr. Elegance, who, one of these things just doesn't belong here. Taking on Leon Slater, Fabian Eichner, and Casey Navarro. Honestly, I think a few of these should be flipped. But honestly, this was a really, really fun match. Announcer said, it feels like the X Division of old. And I will give them credit. It definitely felt more energetic than some of the X Division style matches we've been getting from TNA. But it's still not kind of old school TNA. Match finish comes with an excusez-moi, which is a great name for a finisher by Mr. Elegance. Leon Slater attempts a Swanton 450. Kaz gets his knees up into a roll-up for your win for the heels. And again, fantastic main event match. Great showcase for the talents of the X Division. I do wish they were given a teeny bit more time, but I'm not complaining because this angle at the end is fantastic. So during the last few minutes of the broadcast, we hear it's Nick Nemeth who's giving the update on Mike Santana. So he gets to the ring, grabs a microphone. He has a Carlos Silva, generic TNA logo hat on. And he says, well, I feel pretty excited for him now. I'm going to share some breaking news. Due to an unfortunate incident backstage, Mike Santana won't be making it to Slammiversary. Hell, he won't even be wrestling again. Which might be a dig at Mike Santana's contract status for TNA. I'm not going to go too far into it. So then Nick Nemeth says, why don't we cut out the middleman? Silva, I know how much you like putting on the titles on people's waist. So why don't you come on down and crown me the new rightful TNA World Champion? So at that point, we get a little shot of the entrance ramp. Nick Nemeth is egging Carlos Silva on, trying to get him out. Then we see Ryan Nemeth fall down the ramp. His shirt's all ripped up, his pants are pretty much torn, his hair's all messy. Then right behind him is Mike Santana. He's got no shirt on, his head is gushing blood. And he picks up Ryan. I thought he was going to do a neck crank, but he just kind of tosses him down the ramp. So Mike and Nick have a little face-off. They're about to clash. Then security grabs them, backs them away from one another. Santana attempts to break away, but security grabs him again. Santana then fights through security. Nick bails to the outside, and they kind of switch positions, so Nick is on the ramp, and Mike Santana is in the ring. Security then holds Santana back, and then Nick Nemeth is led to the back by security and authority figures. So I'll say this was definitely an interesting finish to the show, even though it's a WWE style pull apart brawl, which we've been seeing for months now. So I'm definitely going to say this. I am definitely a little bit more hyped for Slammiversary than I am for Forbidden Door, although I am looking forward to both. Should be a pair of very entertaining shows. There's also Night of Champions tomorrow, and then an NXT show on Sunday along with that. So, yeah, got a full day of action. So, if you like wrestling, this weekend is going to be for you. So, that is going to do it all for me. I hope you all enjoyed. I'll try my best to get my video out for Monday. I do have a little doctor's appointment, but it shouldn't be anything major. I should be able to cover it maybe a little later on Monday. So, stay tuned for that. And until next time, happy wrestling, everybody. Peace.